one of the things that I've been able to do, and I think it's served me well, is being able to be adaptable, right?
Love
Because
that.
every seller has something that they want, something's important to them. And so I try to understand what that is. And then I come alongside them, meet them where they are and where they want to be, and make sure that they get what they want so I can get what I want, right? And that's been able to help me grow and scale as quickly as I've been able to do.
Wow. So this is, if you're listening, I mean, back up 30 seconds and listen again, because this is incredibly important. So I tell this story when I'm a guest on other people's podcasts. I tell the story of sort of my first multifamily. I don't know if I've ever even told it on this show, but basically I bought a sixplex from a gentleman who had owned this property for years and years, right? He inherited it and he was tired of owning it. He wanted a certain number for it. At the time it was $1 million. And he was willing to sell or finance for basically very, very little down, but he was excited about it, right? So we got it with very little cash, a little bit risky, of course, for what was I considered a fair market value. And he was jazzed because our payment to him was actually more than the rents he was collecting because he was so under market. We were excited because we got a sixplex, right? Same story as you, just me and my wife. And we were able to come in there, fix the units up, blah, 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 all the story, right? But the thing I focus on with that story is meet the seller where they are, find out their pinch point, find out what they want. And then you have so much tools to create this win-win. And the thing is, it's not gouging them. It's not like taking them for a ride, you're winning and they're winning. And that's what I love so much about what you're describing is if you can be adaptable and creative and listen, a good listener, like, what do you actually want from this transaction? Why are you selling? How can I help you get out of this in a way that helps for me and works for you? I love what you just described. So kudos to you, John. And the thing about being adaptable too is like the market shifts all the time, debt shifts all the time. The last year we watched debt go crazy in a way that people probably didn't expect it to go so fast. So being adaptable to that, maybe some assumptions, seller finance, all those things are super, super solid. So really, really love what you just said. So I just want to give you kind of praise there. Solid stuff.
Yeah, it's trial and error, right? Like I'm just trying to put one foot in front of the next each and every day. And I think, something that I've uncovered the most with folks that are just getting into this and so forth is, they're good about asking the question, would the seller entertain, a seller financing option or whatever, depending on if you're not working directly with the seller, if you're working with, let's just say a broker, the response is always the same. No, I don't think the buyer would be, or the seller would be interested in that.
Always.
It's the same response every time, right? So what I started to do is I started to, apply I've been in sales and business for a long time now. And I started to do discovery with the broker to get them to tell me, in essence, what is the seller profile, right? Like, tell me a little bit about the seller. Tell me about them. What are they doing? What is their plans with the proceeds? Like getting all that information from the broker and before I even ask the question, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set the stage for them to tell me that, because it's usually something like this. Well, my seller doesn't really have to sell. They will, but they don't have to. And they're wealthy. They don't necessarily need the money, but they like the money. And they basically put themselves in the box of being a perfect candidate for seller financing, right? So I get them to tell me all of that. And then I say, well, hey, that's awesome. What I'm hearing you say is that you have a seller that doesn't necessarily need to sell, don't have any plans yet for the proceeds, and they're in a position to where they're trying to just maximize return. Did I hear you correctly? Yeah, you heard me correctly. Great. Well, if that's the case, then it sounds like they may be open to a conversation around how they can do all of that, how we can maximize the return, right? And they're like, yeah, well, what do you have in mind? Well, perhaps we can come up with a creative structure so they can get a higher yield on their return by considering some creative structuring. And they're like, yeah, I mean, we haven't really talked about it. Whatever. Great. Well, no worries. There's no assumptions here, but would you mind can we all get on a call and just talk through it a little bit? And that's where I've been able to shine and really be able to make a difference with the seller, and really for all parties involved, is getting the broker to agree to put me on a phone call with the seller and just getting to know them, and understanding their situation in more detail, and then being able to come alongside them, as you mentioned, come alongside them and where they're at in their journey and where they want to go, and helping them understand I can get them there faster, and oftentimes give them more money by coming up with a creative structure than a conventional takedown. And even in those scenarios, there's been many times where I just want to provide value to them. A lot of these mom and pop owners, they don't know about cost segregation. They don't know about bonus depreciation. They don't know about a lot of these things. And so I'm applying the things that I utilize and helping them understand how they can utilize those same tools to then, again, increase their ROI and create a little bit of rapport with them to where they want to actually do the deal with me, right? So that's how I've been pretty successful in doing seller financing. I've been able to take down over $10 million in real estate with some sort of creative create a financing structure.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's so good. And I totally agree. I mean, we've had some success, basically I mean, you sound incredibly skilled at this. So I don't want to like say that we're on the same level. I mean, that's a really, really good tip, is to like set the stage with the broker. Cause yeah, I mean, I think literally every single buyer says, hey, would they be open to seller financing? That's a question that the broker gets tired of even hearing, right? So they're like, no, I don't think so. And even like on single families, I'll ask someone that same thing. And usually the broker agent kind of rolls their eyes like, oh, seller financing question again, you know? But if you set the stage like that and you say, hey, look, I can actually save them perhaps a huge tax burden as well. This might be hugely beneficial for them and for us. Can we discuss that and get on a call with them? And to have direct contact with the seller, I know brokers don't like it, but I think it's actually a powerful tool. If it's the right buyer, of course.